All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Friday Nights on the Bayou. As always, this is your host, Greg Chachere of Crescent City Sports, a review of sports media. And then also, I'm joined here by Jace LeJeune, most of the time, if not always, of Gridiron football. Jace, we had a crazy week 3. We hopped into week 4. It just seems like the season's going by faster and faster. I mean, Jace, what are your overall thoughts going into week 4?
Yeah, it's flying by. Really, it is. I mean, think about it, it's already week 4. I'm like, it doesn't feel like it. It feels like it's going week approaching week 2, but it's been crazy. I mean, I know there's been a lot of difficulties with the weather and with the storms and everything, and hopefully everybody's still recovering from really that and looking their wounds from that. But we finally get a normal week, and then we approach Friday night, and it was anything but normal as well. In terms of results, in terms of some of the big teams that lost on Friday night, everybody's going to talk. The biggest one was obviously Calvary Baptist losing to Franklin Parish. Not a lot. I mean, maybe except Franklin Parish and Franklin Parish fans, that was about it that we're really seeing that. But that was a huge win for Franklin Parish, and 2 straight losses in a row for Calvary Baptist. But Catholic High was a confident team going in after 2 big wins, and then they lose to U High, which was struggling a little bit too going into the season as well. When you scored 10 points in 2 games, I know that's not what they want, but I'm sure we'll get a chance to talk to Emile about that big win a little later on. But huge week in Louisiana high school football. You mentioned on my show, Grant, about the many teams that went out of state and performed really, really well out of state was really good too. So it's just another way for Louisiana showing its dominance, and with Ruston getting a big win over Longview, kind of carrying that Louisiana flag. Right, it was important for him to get the win because I mean everybody has Ruston as the best team in the state right now. So for them to go into Texas and beat a team like Longview, that was big for like the you kind of carry that Louisiana flag over, and they did a great job doing that. So it was a big week in high school football. A lot of really interesting results. We went over it in Ball on the Boot as well about that too. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to really be happy and excited about. So yeah, looking forward to week 4, and I know we're going to talk a whole lot about it on the show, but it's going to be a pretty cool week in week 4. Every time we get when we only have so much of these weeks, Grant, during the fall, so we're going to definitely cherish any week we can talk about high school football in the state. Hey, Grant, your mic's on mute.
Yeah, that I haven't done that in a little while. But anyway, but yeah, it's I don't even know how my mic was on mute. That was weird. But yeah, there's a lot of big time matchups, of course, around the state. Not even just in the New Orleans area, but you got Lafayette had some big time games. Baton Rouge has some big time games. No, I like just every corner around the state. There's a big time game. So we're getting to that point in the season. I mean, week 4 is pretty stacked. I believe week 5 is pretty stacked as well. So we're just getting to that point where we're getting closer and closer to district play. This is the last round of non-district games. Because week 5 is when a lot of teams go into district play, and we don't have to worry about teams playing out of state. That's because we want to cover those teams' games, so they'll be playing more district matchups. But let's start off with Thursday's match. Oh, before we talk about the matches, Gene Ponti of K104 Scoreboard will be joining us to discuss a lot of what's going on with high school football in the Monroe, Northeast Louisiana region. And then we're also going to have Emile Picarella come on the show as well. So it should be a lot of fun. But before we get to that, before we welcome them in, whenever because Gene's going to come on first and Emile's going to come on second. But before we get to those two guys, let's talk about the match between Ascension Catholic and both teams are 2-0 so far. Well, they might be both 3-0. I'm not sure Ascension Catholic's schedule got messed around because of the hurricane.
Yeah, I think they lost. Like they didn't lose a game. They just didn't play a game.
Yeah. So, but they're both, regardless, they're both undefeated. These are Ascension Catholic, of course, is Chad Elsie, one of the top running backs in the state of Louisiana. And then you have and then Dunham, of course, is a very talented team as well. Like Ascension Catholic, they're state title contender in their their class. And led by Elijah Haven, of course, is the number 1 overall recruit in the country for the class of 2027. I mean, Jace, I know you're going to be covering this game tomorrow because Episcopal plays on Friday, so you'll be able to see a game, a big-time game like this. I know you've been wanting to watch Sheldelsey and the Ascension Catholic, and, of course, Dunham and Elijah Haven go at it since last year where they had a classic matchup. So what do you hope to get what are your expectations of this game, and who do you think is going to win?
Yeah, you're right, Grant. I'm pretty close to this one. Calling a lot of calling Episcopal's games, and you know every year, Grant, that these are the 2 games that you mark on the schedule. Ascension Catholic and Dunham, and you talked about Chad Elsey, Grant. We actually just announced on our website today, Chad Elsey actually has committed to play in a Gridiron Football All-American Bowl game. So we're super excited about that. We were super pumped to have Chad Elsey and having one of the best running backs in the state playing the game. We were super excited for him. So looking forward for him to show off his talents in Baton Rouge at the end of the year. But, yeah, this is a great matchup. Chad Elsey, you have him on the one side. Talk about offensive star power. You have him on one side of the football field, and you got Elijah Haven, who is the top quarterback in the entire country, on the other side of the field. So expect some points to be on the scoreboard in this one. And it's really going to come down to really one thing. It's just about what team executes better when it comes down to maybe the red zone, what team does a better job of cashing in on drives, because both these 2 teams will move the football when you got these 2 offensive players on each side. So what team can capitalize the most? Can they capitalize in the red zone? What defense holds up better on third downs in the red zone in key situations? That's going to come down to it. Both Elijah Haven and Chad Elsey are going to make their plays, but it's going to come down to the defense this one, Grant. Which defense can come up with bigger stops, bigger plays, and that's going to probably determine the outcome of this ball game. I'm super excited for it. I'm definitely going to be covering this game on Thursday, so it's gonna be a great football game to cover, to watch, and yeah, definitely have some interest in this one because both these 2 teams are on Episcopal schedule. So definitely go early scouting report on both those 2 programs. But I've seen Dunham in the Jamboree. I've actually seen both these 2 teams already in the Jamborees. They look really strong. Ascension Catholic, Troy Buff's son is doing a really good job as a quarterback. And they're actually being able to throw the football, and him spreading the ball to other guys is going to make things even more dangerous for Chad Elsey. And you look at the other side for Dunham. Elijah Haven's really good, but they're also good everywhere else. They're really strong defensively. They can run the football. So this is an overall really good Dunham football team. Even though Elijah Haven gets all the headlines, and deservedly so, these are 2 good programs, and like it usually is, it's going to be a dandy. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, Jace. This is a really exciting matchup. Of course, I would love to go out there, but, dude, I'm just beat. I'm just beat from all the driving from back and forth from Baton Rouge to New Orleans, just between covering LSU. That's why I didn't go to the press conference today, because I'm just like, dude, I'm just beat. I'm just need to take a chill pill and just focus on, my writing, because I have a bunch of stuff. I'm going to try to release a bunch of stuff this week. But yeah, it's such a Catholic. High-powered offense. And by the way, his name is Camille LeBeuf.
Camille.
His name is Camille. His name. Say his name. Say his name.
Camille LeBeuf. Yep.
Thank you. I'm pretty sure he does. Do you trust me? When your dad's Troy LeBeuf, I'm pretty sure he wants his name to be represented.
You got you right, Camille. There you go, Camille. Yeah.
But anyway, Ascension Catholic is a pretty balanced offense. They got a lot of athletes on defense as well. I think this would be a close one, but I think Dunham's going to pull it out at the end, kind of similar to what happened last year. Dunham's coming off a huge win at St. Charles Catholic, which is, anytime you go against the St. Charles defense, it takes a lot out of you. All right, you have to pull every single rabbit out of the hat type of trick to even beat St. Charles Catholic. I think that was a good test for this Dunham team, and the fact that they're able to go into LaPlace and get a win from the St. Charles Catholic game lets me know, I feel a lot more confident in this Dunham team moving forward, especially when it comes to the playoffs, because that game will definitely help out with power ratings because St. Charles is not 4A, right? So but I really like the fact they're able to pull a win on the road at St. Charles Catholic is making me a lot more it just makes me lean into Dunham even more so than Ascension Catholic because I feel like Dunham's already been battle tested, right? Yeah. Ascension Catholic really hasn't been battle tested against a really good team like St. Charles Catholic. So I think I'm just going to give the edge, slight edge to Dunham to win win a big game at their home field.
I agree with you. I mean, Dunham, this team is as good, probably even better than the state championship team that played St. Charles Catholic in the Superdome. So I agree with you there. I mean, I know Ascension Catholic had a scare earlier this year. I think they played HL Bourgeois, and they barely won that football game. I think they had stopped a 2-point conversion to win that game. So they played a 5A team. I mean, HL Bourgeois was like 5A. So they were able to win that game. But yeah, I mean, this is a totally different level when you're playing Dunham, when you're playing Elijah Haven, when you're playing this, Coach Warner football team. It's going to be tough, but I think Dunham is the better team. I do have Dunham winning this football game, and this is going to be a really good measuring stick early on for Coach Narcisse. In his first year leading the Bulldogs, and to see how they match up with the Tigers, and I'm sure it's going to be a really good measuring stick for him.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, I think this is kind of similar to what Dunham had to face against St. Charles Catholic last week. It's going to be the same thing for Ascension Catholic. So it'll be interesting to see how Ascension Catholic plays. I'm not because I'm not sure how what did I say the last time? I got distracted. Somebody just sent me a text.
Well,
yeah, I know I'm tripping. Yeah, but anyway, but I got it now. So I think, like I said, I think it's the same kind of scenario for such a Catholic. What's what Dunham had to deal with St. Charles Catholic last week. Same thing that such a Catholic has to deal with Dunham.
Yeah,
it'll be very interesting to see how such a Catholic plays because I think it'll give a good indication where this such a Catholic team is at in terms of when they're ready to play some of the bigger teams that they're going to have to play in the playoffs, like a Washoe Christian, a Vermilion Catholic, and a Riverside and Southern Lab. All the great teams are in Division 4, so it'll be very interesting. Just to see how they play on the road at Dunham, and probably what I think will be a very tough environment, just given the amount of hype that is surrounding the Dunham program right now.
Yeah.
But the next match, Thursday Thursday matchup that I want to talk about before we let in Gene, is Cap. That's who was texting me, by the way. I was looking at the text, and I lost my train of thought. Yeah. But it's Catholic New Iberia, Notre Dame. The deal. Big time rivalry in that area.
Mm-hmm.
All the great match between Louis Cook and Brent Endes. Brent Endes, of course, is now at Lakeshore, but that was a big time rivalry between Brent Endes and Louis Cook.
They played in the Superdome against each other. That was a state championship.
Yeah, exactly. Would it happen back to back too?
At least one time it happened.
Yeah.
I knew that at least one time it did happen. So.
Okay. So, but yeah,
I think the one I'm thinking of, Notre Dame won.
Yeah, I'll actually look it up. But there's a lot of history between these two programs. Because we already know about Notre Dame and the amount of championships they won. Catholic New Bears won their only state championship, I believe it was 2017. Yeah. But Jace, what do you hope to get out of this matchup? This is a big time. We've had a lot of big time rivalry games recently, and this is just another big one that we're going to see as the season goes along.
Yeah, both these teams have a lot of expectations. When we talk about Notre Dame, Louis Cook, he's where my money's worth, he's up there with the best of them all time. We're talking about like a Mount Rushmore of all the great high school football coaches. He's definitely on that list. When you talk about JT Curtis, when you're talking about Red Franklin, when you talk about Jim Hightower, guys like that, Frank Monica, he's up there with those guys. And right now, they've played. They're 2-1 right now, and they played some tough teams. I mean, they just played Teurlings Catholic, which is red hot right now. The Rebels are off to a great start, and they played, up with them, right? Right. This is a elite team in Teurlings Catholic, and they only lost 21-10. They beat Southside 21-20. They beat a 5A team, so it shows me, Louis Cook's always going to get his team prepared. Like it's the same thing like Frank Monica. Like his teams are always going to be prepared, and you're just going to have to go and beat them. Like at the end of the day, because they're not going to beat themselves. So that is going to be really a fun one to watch. I mean, they got some really key players. I mean, Jackson Casanova is kind of like the main guy for them for Notre Dame, but they always got really solid players for the Pios, and they're a really good football team all the way around. I actually talked to the Hayden Johnson player in a bowl game to tight end last year in a Gridiron game. His dad sent me about 5 or 6 guys for them to invite to the bowl game this year. So we're going to actually taking a look at them as we speak. So they got really good players, and you look on the other side. I mean, Catholic New Iberia 2-1 on the season, coming off with back-to-back impressive wins. It was a great job of bouncing back because there was a lot of eyes are on that Vermilion Catholic game in week 1. And for them to bounce back and take care of business against Como and Patterson was really big for them. And, Catholic New Iberia, I mean, Luke Landry, I believe, is the quarterback for them. So he's a talented signal caller as well. And this is going to be a really good game. Both teams are 2-1, have pretty good starts to the season. I have Notre Dame here, Grant, just because of what the teams are able to play against. I mean, you go up and play Teurlings Catholic. You play pretty decent with them, right? I mean, you only lose 21-10. And then you beat Southside and Jess Curtis and were able to beat them to start the season. So and it's hard to go against Louis Cook, too. So it should be a really good football game. Both these are well-coached teams as well. But give me the Pios to win this one.
Oh yeah, I mean, Jace. I mean, this is a big time match, a big time rival game. Of course, Catholic New Iberia has one of the better quarterbacks in this state with Luke Landry and a group of receivers that are also talented as well. So it would be interesting to see how this Notre Dame defense, led by Jackson Casanova, is going to go up against this offense. That's pretty good. I got a chance to see them at the Battle on the Bayou 7-7 tournament that they threw over there at UL. And they look pretty good. They actually beat Calvary Baptist in the 2. And, that's pretty impressive considering that Calvary Baptist is a pretty good offensive team too. So even though it's no lineman or anything like that, it's still, but still like, you're able to get the better of Calvary Baptist in the game against the defending state champion in your, classification. But I'm going to have to agree with you, Jess. I think it's going to be Notre Dame in a slight one. It's hard to bet against Louis Cook. Yeah. I mean, he's won over 300 games now, 400 games, something like that. And also, I mean, he's gone up against teams that are even way more talented than this Catholic New Iberia team in the past, and he's ended up either winning those games or just barely losing those games. I mean, he knows how to get his teams ready, especially against a rival, an area rival like Catholic New Iberia. But I'm just going to have to lean with the Pios on this game over the Panthers of Catholic New Iberia. But Jace, we're going to let in Gene in just a second, guys, and we're going to have a lot of fun. Gene, of course, is a longtime sports broadcaster up in North Louisiana, specifically Monroe. He was a sports director for KTVE, and but now he's he's kind of set that aside. Done some other. He's still in the broadcasting, but he's done some other stuff now. But the reason why we're bringing Mom, not only to talk a lot about what's going on in the Monroe area, but he's a Catholic Baton Rouge alum.
Yeah, he is.
His son's a running back for West Monroe, and so you're gonna have a little bit of a house divided. So we're gonna ask him about that, and also some of the other top matchups and top teams in Northeast Louisiana. So stay tuned. We're gonna let him on in just a second. All right, guys. We're joined here by Gene Ponti. He's a guy who's been up there in Northeast Louisiana covering sports for 30 plus years. He was formerly the sports director at KTVE, but now he's doing some other things, including being the radio host of K104 Scoreboard up there in Monroe. So, Gene, welcome to the show.
Hey, I appreciate it, Grant. And Man, you're dating me a little bit, but yeah, I've been in this game a long, long time. And you don't get out of it because it's a lot of fun. I mean, who gets the opportunity to talk about high school and college athletics week in and week out? So while I don't do it on television, it's fun to kind of do it on radio. And now look at this. Now everybody kind of does it on in the digital space. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, that, the media, that's the thing. The media is always changing. But, the first question we're going to have to ask you, we know you're from Southern Louisiana. You originally from New Orleans, but you went to high school at Catholic of Baton Rouge. Now you're up there in Monroe. Your son's a running back for West Monroe. I mean, what are your overall thoughts about this game going and also the family dynamics of the game itself?
Well, it's kind of nice going back to Baton Rouge, just because I do have so many friends who I think are coming to the game. And it's been, I think, 3 or 4 years since Catholic and West Monroe have played. So that part of it's kind of cool. Christian plays baseball too. So we opened up this past season down on the Diamond against Catholic, a 3-game series that I think opened up the season for them as well. So it's kind of cool when Catholic and West Monroe cross paths. I had somebody ask me today, so are you going to be confused? Are you pulling for your orange and black? And I went, well, look, I mean, I always pull for them except when they pull or play West Monroe. So obviously I'm hoping my son and the rest of his football team do well. Christian's a junior, so I think we will host Catholic up here next year, if I'm not mistaken. And it's going to be a fun night. Looking forward to seeing a lot of friends out of Memorial Stadium.
Yeah.
How many?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was going to ask you because I know you said there's going to be a lot of people from West Monroe. How many people from West Monroe are you expecting? Because I know they travel very well.
They do travel well, Grant. They really do. And this is the 3rd week in a row that the Rebels have been on the road, which is, first of all, strange in and of itself. They only play 4 home games this year. A couple of weeks ago, we went up to play Pulaski Academy. I don't know if you guys looked into that game, but man, we got beat 67-47 in that ball game. But anybody who keeps up with high school football knows that that's a football team in of itself. I think they've won 8 straight state championships, made it to the semifinals a year ago. And they are so unorthodox in what they do with the onside kicks. They don't punt and this and that and the other. And we probably had about 400 and something, maybe 400 to 500 up in Little Rock 2 weeks ago. This past Friday, we made a trip over to Stonewall, which is where North DeSoto was. That was probably a must game for West Monroe, knowing that Catholic is on deck this coming Friday and knowing that that tough district is coming up. And I tell you, this past Friday was a little bit different because they took the band and the dance line and all that kind of stuff. So I'd probably tell you there were 700 or 800, 700 for sure, over in the stands at North DeSoto. So I tell you, they travel pretty well. I will say this is kind of a nuts, and I don't know of any other high school that does this. Next Friday night is homecoming at West Monroe. They host Scotlandville, ironically from Baton Rouge. Yeah. But they do things totally backwards. This coming Saturday, the night after the Catholic game, is the quote-unquote homecoming dance. So, kids are going to be getting back at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning or thereabout. Parents are having to kind of rush back to get them set up for the next day. So it messes up the whole weekend a little bit. And then they do a week-long gig every night, and then they play their homecoming game next Friday. So they do it completely backwards, but I guess that's their tradition. So I'm not sure, saying all of that, how many they'll bring down big number-wise, because so many of them feel like they got to get back for Saturday. So I know that's a long answer to a short question, but there you go.
No, you're good. You're good. I kind of know what the deal with West Monroe. My mom actually taught there in the school year of 98-99. When my dad was actually coaching in Northeast. When my dad was coaching in Northeast at the time, and then we moved back down here when my dad got the job at Tulane. But actually, I was just born when all that was going on. But Jason, you had a question that you want to ask, because I know you're trying to ask a question.
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. So, yeah, Gene, I know you being a Catholic alum. I know I graduated from Catholic, so but it's good to have a Catholic Bear on the show. Of course, representing the Bears.
Nice.
Go Bears.
Are you coming out Friday night?
So I actually have to call the Episcopal game. So I call Episcopal games
Uh-huh.
on Friday nights. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to miss it. I hate
You
it.
get to work with Clanny Duplashan, a great friend of mine. Clanny
he's
is one of the best on the planet.
Absolutely, absolute legend. So yeah, I mean, going into this, I mean, obviously Catholic West Monroe had some battles back in the '90s when this was there was a classic game, the Tommy Banks game.
Yeah.
That talks about back in the day, and West Monroe, seeing them travel, obviously saw in the Superdome. Outside the Superdome, I think the whole arena was covered in red and blue. It was crazy to see that many fans travel from West Monroe. But yeah, this is a huge game. Obviously, we got two of the biggest brands in high school football with West Monroe Catholic. When you see their logos, you immediately know what those two programs are. So it was a huge game. West Monroe, I mean, me and Grant were talking about it, but this last week against North DeSoto, like it wasn't surprising that West Monroe won, but by the margin against a really good North DeSoto team led by Coach Dunn, who's done an excellent job and has done all kinds of great stuff. Hall of Fame coach. So this offense has been scoring over 40 points every single week. So what has it been about the efficiency of this offense and why they've been successful in the first 3 weeks?
Well, I'd say this first too, Jace. I mean, it was a surprise to everybody that went to the football game. Not that they won, but you're right, by the margin that they did. I think they had like 430 something yards total offense in the first half. And it was a good balance of the run and the pass. We couldn't throw the ball. I think we were 7 of 14 against Pulaski 2 weeks ago. This past week, I think it was 10 of 13 in that ballpark. But I think what they did, and I think most teams know this, and I know Catholic is already doing this on tape. The Rebels run that veer, and people load up that many kids up in the box, 7 and 8 men, and they try to get you on the play action and then come over the top with it. And they were able to do that early against North DeSoto. So they stretched the field. That was something we couldn't do against Pulaski. I think we only had 2 passes over 30 yards up there in Little Rock. This past week, I think we had 6. So they stretched the field a little bit, which was kind of cool to see. The running game worked. It was just one of those rare nights, but I did not see 63 or 14 coming whatsoever. But it was just a good balance. It really was. A couple of guys who haven't been playing very well stepped out of their comfort zone and made some things happen offensively, and that was kind of cool. So they're a good football team, but they also know, too, they're playing a Catholic team, as you know, Jace, that is just loaded defensively. I kind of kept an eye on that U-High game this past week, and, of course, they've already played STM, Destrehan. So, like West Monroe, they're playing some strong teams at the front end of their season to make them great come late October and November.
Yeah, absolutely, Gene. And really the keys of the game you just talked about. I mean, West Monroe's offense has been really explosive and has been really churning out a lot of yards. I mean, like you mentioned, over 400 in the first half and over 500 throughout the game. And this hot offense going against that Catholic defense has been so stingy. And anytime you can slow down teams like Destrehan, like St. Thomas More, that have known to be explosive in years past, do you think that's where the games will come to be decided on West Monroe's offense, how efficient they are against Catholic's defense? What do you think are the game here?
Well, I think I'm not going to say it's going to come down to the kicking game by any means because both teams have strong kickers. But I know both teams have been, for lack of a better word, sloppy. Way too many penalties in the game. And I know Catholic had too many Friday night, as did West Monroe. We had way too many. I think we had 17 penalties up in Little Rock. So somebody's got to get disciplined, and you have to, just play your game and be smart and not be a sucker to the things that draw you off sides and this and that and the other, or the pass interference calls. Those can be, tough to deal with. So the team that I think stays disciplined, plays their game, and just does what they do and don't try to get fancy with things, I think is going to win this football game. But, I do think it's going to be fun, and I know West Monroe is looking forward to the trip down there.
I mean, I think everyone is waiting for West Monroe Catholic game. This is a game that me and Jace were talking about back in April and May.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone had this a lot of people have this circled on the schedules, and unfortunately, I cannot go because I'm actually going to be at the John Curtis Rummel game, which would be a big time game in the New Orleans area.
Yeah.
So I'm, this is a really big weekend all across the state. But last weekend, I think no one was expecting this result, which was Franklin Parish beating Calvary Baptist. So what do you think happened in the game that led to that upset? And talk about the job that Coach Burdett has done over there at Franklin Parish.
Well, Adrian Burnett is the head coach. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with AB. He had a great college career at Tulane. And what was kind of cool, too, they had beaten St. Aug down there not too far, and they all stayed there the next day and went to the Tulane game. It was a great treat for the players. Some boosters stepped up and bought them tickets, and that was very cool. But look, I'll tell you, man, they had this Calvary game circled the minute it came out on the schedule, and they knew it would be one of the biggest games that they've had at that stadium in Winsboro since probably when Booger McFarland played there. They've just fallen on hard times, and they just haven't been very good. But they've got a great quarterback, and like most teams, as your QB goes, so goes your team. And I think Ellis had 2 touchdowns. Throwing the ball. I know he had 2 running. One was 99 yards when they were backed up at their own 1-yard line. He broke it off. So they were up big in the fourth quarter. Calvary actually came back and made a ball game out of it. But it was 32-28. And that's pretty awesome for a little small town like Winsboro, Louisiana.
And also want to mention it was West Jeff, not St. Aug. And the reason why I'm saying that is because
right.
St. Aug, there's St. Aug people that watch the show, and I don't want them coming at me.
You're right. I didn't have it in front of me. I think it was like 51-0. It was some crazy score.
Yeah, they killed them.
You're right. It was West Jeff. Bad on me.
I just don't want St. Aug people to come after us. So I'll just want to let you know. So
you can send them my way if they want to drive 4 hours.
There you go.
I would love to see a St. Aug West Monroe matchup. That'd be fantastic. But anyway, but the next Jace, you have any other questions you want to ask about the game before we move on to the next topic?
Yeah, I mean, I read a little bit about the game, Gene, about Franklin Parish, and this is like this type of game where they can really, shock a lot of people and say, hey, don't forget about us too. I mean, the only way to do that is to be a team like Calvary. But we talk about the quarterback. You talked about the quarterback, Gene, and his ability to really move this offense and lead this team. But talk about, the defense I heard was a big reason why they jumped up to a big lead. I think they had a pick 6 on Abram Wardell, and he doesn't throw any interceptions. And James Simon fumbles the football, and it seemed like when you have that early on, it's going to be that type of night for you.
Well, and they'll have a short week this week. I'm not sure Caldwell is probably the team they've been in years past, but that's where they go on Thursday night this week. So unless they have a big emotional letdown, I think those guys improved to 4-0 in the year. And knowing AB, their head coach, as well as I do, he'll have them ready to play. But they're doing a lot of things well. They've got a lot of speed, and speed kills. You guys see that every Friday night too. So anyway, it's fun to have new teams in the mix from Notheast Louisiana. We kind of get in the same canoe talking about the West Monroes and the Nevilles and the Oak Groves, Ouachita Christians, the Neville Tigers. It's the same teams that are always there because that's what their program is built on. It's tradition and always having good football players. So it's nice to see other teams like that, the Patriots, kind of get into the mix and seeing how far it goes this year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And I think after that win over Calvary Baptist, all eyes are going to be at Franklin Parish for the rest of the year. But the next matchup I want to talk about after reviewing that big time upset last week. This is another interesting one. Neville and St. Thomas More. Neville is 3-0. They'll be traveling down to Lafayette to play against the St. Thomas More that's struggling a little bit. Yeah. I know they start the season 1-2. But how will Neville fare against this very talented St. Thomas More team?
Well, Neville's a good football team. And you guys probably know, too, they had a coaching change in the offseason. Mike Collins, who I actually played ball with at ULM, is running the show there. So we go way, way back as friends. And Mike even spent some time on the staff with Nick Saban when Nick was at LSU. So, he's been in the college game at a couple of different levels. So he knows football and he knows great defense. That's what makes him great. So Neville is going to be in most games because of that. But their starting quarterback, Brock Jordan, got hurt or had some issues right before they went into the Jamboree, and it kept him off the field a couple of weeks. Right now, they're giving him some time, but they went to a sophomore, Robinson. His dad, ironically, is the quarterback's coach. So he's been brought up in that game. And he's done a great job for him. He's gotten him out of some nice spots. He's controlled the game, which has been kind of sweet. So, but going down to St. Thomas More is going to be a big, big test for them. You know, this past week, they played Holmes County out of Mississippi, a team that I think was 13-1 a year ago. They had them in Monroe. It was a great game that literally went down to the final play of the game. Holmes decided to go for two, didn't get it, ended up winning it. Did Neville 34-33. So they've been tested. In fact, I know they did. You know, when the rain they were supposed to come down and play Southside before the hurricane kind of rolled in there, if I'm not mistaken. So they at the last minute did a flip flop. They got I think it was Calvary on the schedule. Yeah, and went over there and took care of business and kind of dominated those dudes. So Neville's going to be very good. It's tough to play, as you guys know, down in Lafayette, but it will be a good test early to see how good they are.
Mm-hmm. Jace, you're.
Yeah, I mean, Neville's been really good this year, and I mean, it seems like we talk about their defense. They got a lot of star power on their defense, but it seems like they've been really a balanced team overall. I mean, they got a really good running back in Jalen Nichols. I mean, he's actually a guy we invited to play in our bowl game this year, so he's a very good player. And yeah, Neville's going to be really dangerous, and it showed with that big win over Calvary. Now let's talk about another team that a lot of people have heard about. Grant asked about Neville, but we can talk about arguably the top team in the state, and that's Ruston, the Ruston Bearcats this year. And they've been so dominant to start to their season. They played teams out of state in the non-district because there's not many teams that want to go and play Ruston, and they look really strong this year. And what are your thoughts on this Ruston team, Gene? And do you think, as good as that team was last year, do you think this team is possibly can be even better this year?
Jace, I'm telling you, you better bring your bag lunch and your A game when you play the Bearcats. Coach Jared Ball has done a phenomenal job with that program. I'm sure you guys are aware too. You know, Kyle Williams, that played at Ruston High School, had a outstanding career in the NFL with the Bills. I think 12, 13 years. Kyle runs that defense there, so he brings a dimension to what they do. In fact, I think they've got 2 or 3 former NFL guys involved with that program, but Kyle runs that side of the ship. The Anding kid, that Jordan Anding, is an LSU commit. I think he committed literally right before the season. He had 2 more interceptions the other night in their ball game. But you're right, they've had to go out and beat and find teams to play. They had Cabot, Arkansas. That was a home and home a year ago. Cabot came in there this year. Very good program. Beat those guys. But this is the second week in a row they're going back to Texas. You know, they beat Longview last Friday night. And, man, the Lobos are always state semifinal teams in one of the largest classes over in Texas. Well, this week they have Midland, Texas. And goodness gracious, their reputation precedes themselves. And they're playing that thing on Saturday, I think, in Arlington. And then I'll be darned if they don't go back and play another team back in Longview, some kind of like an in-between. It's halfway for both. They go back to Texas again next Friday night. So they're getting their frequent flyer miles in, and they're playing great football teams. And then they'll start getting in the district play the week after that. Great football team.
Yeah, and I believe after, this week they played Midland, but then the following week they play Stephenville, and they're undefeated right now as well.
Yeah.
So it's that's a very tough schedule. Not, I was telling Jace this, like, if they finish, if they finish their non-district schedule with 3-4 wins over teams from Texas and Arkansas, like, I just can't see anybody else in the state beating them. What an incredible run the Bearcats have had the last 2-3 years. I mean, it's just insane. I haven't seen anything like this, really.
Yeah.
Last year, and West Monroe has them back at West Monroe. It literally, that game went down to the fourth quarter. They broke off a long 70-yard run to win it. I think it was 35-28. Neville probably had them beat at Neville last year. Those were, I think, probably their two toughest games of the year, other than the one that they lost and then one because of DQ. But other than that, they really dominated people. So I am looking forward to how they're doing with their schedule down the pipe. But here's the team you guys might want to keep an eye on the rest of the year, because I'm telling you, Alexandria Senior High, the Ash Trojans, that are in this same district. I mean, gosh darn, it's a gauntlet every Friday night for these teams. But Ash has Ruston, West Monroe, and Neville all in Alexandria this year. Wow. Man, kudos to those dudes for pulling that off. But they got a chance to really make a statement, and heck, they're playing great football right now too. They put up some big numbers this year. They went up to Union Parish and smoked the Farmers, and they'll be very, very tough.
Yeah, just to be that's your hand. My 18 points this week too. So
yeah,
Trojans are looking.
And Jason wasn't even that close. Is what I heard.
Yeah, that's what I heard as well. Yeah.
I've called that too. I told Jace, they're going to beat Destrehan about 3-4. I mean, I know Destrehan's quarterback was out. I even told Jace, it's like, I wouldn't be shocked that they beat him, even if they had the starting quarterback by 2-3 touchdowns. I mean, that's a very good Alexandria team over there at Ash. But the next matchup we want to talk about is West Washita and Sterlington. West Washita has started season 3 now. They will have a pretty tough road matchup against the Sterlington team. That's I know they lost a couple of their players, the Downs brothers, who are now at Bastrop, who we'll talk about in just a second. But what do you like out of this matchup?
West Washita has some great coaches on that staff. They lost Glenn Hunt, who was their offensive coordinator and line coach. He ironically is on that staff at Neville now with Mike Collins, as is Steve Ensminger Jr., who you guys I'm sure are aware of. Steve was at Cedar Creek, jumped down with David Brewer down in Zachary for a little bit. And then right before the season, Mike got him to come back up to North Louisiana. But he filled the spot, did West Washita, with Robert Hanna, who was a longtime head coach at River Oaks. And the guy has always been just a defensive genius, and they're shutting people out. But I will say this too: West Washita is a much better football team. Mike has them playing very, very well, but they always start the season 4-5 and maybe even 6-0, and then they get into the meat of that District 2-5A. But this year they're not in it; they're playing 4A football. So the light at the end of the tunnel is not a freight train for the Chiefs, and that excites them a lot.
Yeah, it certainly does. And one more game I want to talk about, and we talked about the big upset really for Calvary Baptist and losing to Franklin Parish, but another upset, I wouldn't say as big as that one, but I thought it was a pretty good upset, pretty nice win, was St. Frederick beating Gina and winning that game on a field goal, because Gina, they've been on I think an 18-game regular season winning streak. They haven't lost many games in the regular season, and now they got Bastrop, and we just talked about it. Grant talked about the Downs brothers now transferring to Bastrop, and we know back when we were pretty young that Bastrop had it rolling, and they went to the state championships, and they had a lot of really good talent. I mean, Ruben Randall, and it seems like they're starting off undefeated right now. Bastrop, it seems like there's some noise about them again, and talking about them a little bit like they were, trying to bring that magic back to Bastrop. So this is going to be a really big game. Just want your takeaways between St. Frederick's and Bastrop.
And let me add another footnote about that West Washita game. Sterlington's a good football team, and they've played up in some talent too. So Lee Doty has them at home on Friday night. I'm not going to be surprised if the Panthers win that game, even though they're a lower classification than the Chiefs. They like to run that veer. Bobby Breen's their offense coordinator, and he was a former quarterback at West Monroe, so he knows how to make that mesh in between that fullback and the halfback and the pitch and running all that sort of stuff. But anyway, that ought to be a good ball game. But you're right, Bastrop, Tank Washington came to the Strop from Carroll High School, and God bless that program. They're having so many issues. But all that being said, Tank going up there, he's gotten those kids to kind of buy in a little bit. Tank played college ball, so he's got experience on his hands. But, Brad Bradshaw still kind of hangs around there. And, he was the great leader of those teams when you were talking about when Ruben was there and Mackey and all those, studs that, won them championships. But it's nice to see Bastrop kind of excited about high school football again, because they've been a doormat for a while. But you can't say that this year whatsoever. So that ought to be a good football game. I agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gene, before Grant pretty much wraps the segment up, what do you have to say about really the depth in Northeast Louisiana? Just because we talk about, like you said, I mean, the Neville's are always going to be there. Walsall Christians, Oak Groves. I mean, they're going to be there, West Monroe, but the teams like Franklin Parish, Bastrop, I mean, teams like that, it seems like the depth of Northeast Louisiana is getting better and better.
You also can't forget about Haynesville and Washington Christian, too.
Yeah, but those we expect. But
David Franklin, what's kind of crazy about that program over at Haynesville? I won't spend a lot of time with it. You don't ever see any of those kids sign college scholarships, maybe one every 5 or 6, 7 years. But every one of those kids grow up playing Haynesville football, and they are always good. I mean, they always find a way to get to the carpet in New Orleans, and they're just a good football program. They live and breathe that stuff. So, you're right. Haynesville's back in that mix. We added Franklin Parish, but we're lucky with Northeast Louisiana that you're right. We've got a lot of good, and Union Parish. I think they're 0-3 right now, but Joe Spatafor has played up in his schedule big time, because he knows that it doesn't care how you start. It's how you finish. And look, Coach Gregory at Oak Grove, they struggled a little bit too, but I'm telling you, they are high-powered offensively with Bradley as their quarterback. Their defense has played some very good football teams. So, man, we never count out the Tigers, and it's always fun to watch those dudes.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. All right, Gene, thanks for hopping on. I know you got a lot of stuff to do, and I know it was glad to have you on to give us some introspective about what's going on in Northeast Louisiana, and good luck to your Rebels tomorrow and your son.
Yeah.
Hey, I appreciate that, Grant and Jace. I'll jump on any.
Yeah, or Friday. Yeah. I know today's Monday, and you're recording this. Yeah, I think it is Thursday. I'm out of that. It's Monday.
Well, Friday night's going to be fun regardless. We're going to make a day out of it. In fact, I'm going to stay down and hang out with family and stuff through Saturday and come back Saturday afternoon. But yeah, I mean, it's just fun. You guys get it. Y'all are tied into some good programs down there, and I've been covering this stuff for a long, long time too. So we've all been blessed.
Good football in the state. I can tell you that all around. Some good football in the state this year. So.
Sir.
Thank you, Gene.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
All right, Jace. Anytime, man. All right, Grant.
Bye. All right, Jace. That was Gene Ponti of K104 the Scoreboard, and also formerly the longtime sports director at KTVE. Jace, what are your overall thoughts about what he said about what's going on in Northeast Louisiana?
Yeah, Grant, and if y'all haven't got a chance, the K104 Scoreboard show, they're great, man. As far as trying to keep up with Northeast Louisiana, what's all going on Northeast Louisiana, I definitely follow these guys a lot. Keep up with them a whole lot. They do an excellent job of keeping up with that part of the state and giving us a lot of really good analysis on that side of the state. So it's great insight from Gene. I know it's going to be. It's like I talked about the other week with Brendan Kimes' dad, right? He went to Brother Martin, but his son's at St. Paul's, and trying to conflict both sides. And Gene's gonna have that experience as well on Friday night when the Rebels come and make the travel to Baton Rouge. Him being a Catholic high grad and his son playing running back for West Monroe. So I guess you can always pull for maybe a Catholic win, but your son going for 200 yards and 5 touchdowns. So maybe get the best of both worlds, but I'm sure it's kind of hard to really get that best of both worlds. But I know he's going to enjoy the game and cheer on his son. And he's going to really and reunite with a lot of former classmates and, people that he's been close to over the years. So it's going to be a special weekend for the Ponti family.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I know, Jace, you guys are sending over a writer to cover that game. I mean, I know that's a priority for you guys over there. Because, I mean, of course,
but somebody will be there for Gridiron football. I can guarantee you that.
Yep. And if it's not Jace, it could be somebody else. Unfortunately, I can't go because I got John Kirsten Rummel, which is a big game in New Orleans in its own right. But in the next segment, we have a guy who had a big-time win over Catholic. Transition. And he put out a tweet that said, keep doubting us. And I think he's referring to these two idiots on the screen that we did doubt them. Guys, welcome Emile Picarella, the quarterback of U High. I mean, Emile, how's it been going? How's your just past few days been like for you?
It's been pretty cool. Just celebrating with the guys, celebrating with the coaches, and seeing the whole community come together. And I definitely wasn't only talking about y'all. I probably was talking about the whole state. So yeah. It's always great to get a win like that, and our guys played really well. So.
I mean, 2-0 against Catholic. I mean, undefeated. I mean, how does that feel? I mean, that's as you know, that's an extremely talented Catholic team, and it's the biggest rivalry in the city by far. I mean, what's that feeling like to beat your in-city rivals or crosstown rivals?
It's good. I mean, you just celebrate it with your teammates, and they tell you how much of a big a deal it is. Because I really didn't know, honestly, coming from Mississippi. And I really didn't get it until one of my coaches came up to me and told me I was a bear killer. So, I've had a lot of fun playing them these past couple of years. They're a great team, and they get the best out of you for sure. So,
see, Emile, we're just trying to set it up for y'all. We're trying.
A lot of people were then. A lot.
A lot. Motivation, giving y'all energy. So that's all that was, Emile. But I mean, y'all just have Catholic High's number. That's back-to-back wins over the Bears and impressive fashion as well. What I'm curious about, Emile, what do you think was the clicking point? Because I know the first couple of games, I mean, me and Grant were there at the Rummel game, and I never seen the weather change as fast as it did that game. But what do you think changed? I mean, y'all were dealt with some tough weather conditions, the Woodlawn game and the Rummel game. But in this game, y'all got punched in the mouth first. Y'all were down 14-0. But what do you think was the turning point in that football game for y'all to get back in it and find a way to win it at the end?
I really think, these past couple of weeks, schedules getting mixed up, weather, obviously that's way more adversity than, just being down 14-0 in my opinion. And, playing on a dry field was pretty nice. And, for the whole game. So, we love that. And, especially me. And, just rallying the guys and saying it's not over. It's only the first quarter. And they got to a really fast start, and they did. And, we were shocked by that. We really were. Defense, we pulled it together. They didn't – I don't think they allowed a point until like 2 minutes in the fourth quarter after that. And, they did an amazing job for us. And, I just told the offense we got to get it together. We had some key injuries these past couple of weeks as well. And we had a lot of guys step up, and, you just love to see that. And when you do see that, just more confidence gets up from the offense. So, yeah.
Yeah. What changed for you guys? Because the first two games, the offense scored a combined 10 points, 3 points against Woodlawn, 7 points against Rummel. Now, Rummel's defense is really good, as we all know. But what was the game plan going to that game, especially going against another very good Catholic defense? As you know, you've played against them the last 2 years.
Honestly, I think I don't want to make any excuses, but with the field being dry, we're going to throw it more, right? Right. We're going to try and throw it to open up the run, and that's what we did against Catholic. And it started to work. We started getting some like 8-yard gains to 10-yard gains in the run game. Me using my legs to get around, that helped out a good bit. And it really just started clicking because before the game I said we're not scoring 7 points. It's just not happening. Right. And I told them if we score 7, we're going to lose. So I told them we need to get a fast start and we need to get on the board. So and they delivered they practiced their butts off all week, and it showed. So
Emile, I mean, we're talking about really going to the season. We know how talented you guys are. We know about the leaders. I mean, when your best players or your leaders, that says something about this team. With you on the offensive side of the football, Keelan on the defensive side of the football. One thing that we were talking about, I mean, when I was calling the game for VSN with, of course, your president, Kevin George, of course.
Yeah.
Game. One thing that we talked about was the wide receivers. I mean, because last year you had Granville Anderson who played in a bowl game. You had Steph Gale. I mean, those are big weapons for you and really helped you throughout the season at quarterback. And now you got pretty much a newer group. I mean, Zay Martin's a guy that we've known.
Yeah, he's really the only one. Yeah.
But the other receivers, but Lawson Dixon and you know, as well as Treshawn Bush. I know he's been hurt the last couple of weeks, but what's been the chemistry been like with the other receivers besides Zay, and again the other receivers involved?
You know, we before we played Catholic, I gathered all of them and we threw after practice for a couple days, and you know, because we needed it. And obviously, Ethan Kimmy stepping up. He had a monster game. He really did. He before that, he's only played a JV game. You know, like we had to get some chemistry up, and you know, we weren't really connecting Monday through Tuesday. So on Wednesday, I was like, we're staying after practice. We're getting this down, and I think our play on Friday showed that. And I really, you know, just got to bring the confidence up in him, because I got all the confidence in the world. You see the kid, he's athletic, right? Duke can jump, you know, run. And, you know, with Charles Musgrove, he, you know, he's quick. I've always trusted him. If I knew he got his confidence up, then we're straight, right? So it's really just confidence with these guys. And, you know, Lawson Dixon, I knew he was going to be good coming into the off season, you know, just looking at his body, looking how he runs, how much progression he made from year 1 to year 2. And, yeah, you know, just watching them work and us can, you know, work in the off season, that I think that just, you know, goes to show. So.
Yeah, Ethan definitely looked good. I mean, I was telling Kevin, who is that?
Yeah, exactly, right?
Exactly. Another weapon for y'all. Big guy to throw the ball to, which helps you.
You know, it's fun to throw it to a dude 6'4" and that can jump, you know, 40-inch vert. So it makes it easy. Yeah, it makes it easy.
You know, I know going into the season, of course, I know last year you guys had the disappointing finish at St. Charles Catholic last year in the semifinals. How much of that loss is still on you guys, and how is that motivated for you guys this year to get back to the Dome and win at the Dome? Because you guys have another very talented team, and you don't want that to happen again. I'm pretty sure you don't. The goal is always to win the championship. You know, the seniors got up as a group and we talked going into the Catholic game and I brought up how last year I felt like after we beat Catholic, we thought we were there already, right? And how we didn't consistently and try to improve. I thought we were just consistently the same. And, you know, when you play a great team, because I thought we had more talent than St. Charles. I'm not afraid to say it. You know, I thought we had more talent. They're just, you know, a great team. And we were just talking we don't want that to happen again. We want to be a better team than we were last year. Because if a better team with the better talented guys plays together, it's, you know, it's over. You know what I mean? Then it's pretty hard to beat. And we all know that. And this year we're gonna have to get better from this. You know, we got St. Paul's coming up next Friday. Great team. You know, peeked at a little bit of film of that already, if we're being honest. So yeah.
Emile, I want to ask you, because you went to our Gridiron Football Media Day and you saw the cover with James Tavery. James on the wall. Just tell me about your relationship with James and how has he helped you grow as a quarterback?
Oh man, his competitive nature and his motivation for football is literally insane. I love it. Seriously. Thursday night, I got on a FaceTime call with him watching the Catholic film, right? We were on FaceTime for 3 hours watching that film. I'm being so serious. I can show you the screenshot. 3 hours. And the amount of knowledge he knows. Because obviously he played in college, right? If anyone plays in college, doesn't matter the level. You're good. You know what I mean? And he's a baller. He can rip the football. He's taught me a lot of things about rotation in my body and trying to get my hip around. and not trying not to break my T-spine and my back and stuff like that. And he's really just helps me through everything. Like that's just the type of guy he is, and he's gonna be there for you when you need him. Like straight up, he's gonna text you after a loss. He texts me after the Rummel game, texts me after the Catholic game. Like he's always gonna be there. He's a true friend and he's a great coach.
Oh yeah, no doubt. So it's always good to put in the extra work in, especially with a guy like James Tabor. He's done a great job developing some of the better quarterbacks. Not only in South Louisiana, but just all around the Gulf Coast in general. But I got one last question for you. Jace, I'm pretty sure you may have another question for him as well. But I have this one question. Yeah, I have this one question for you. I know right now you're still kind of going through the recruiting process. I know you've been visiting some schools. I know you like some schools, but who have you liked so far in the recruiting process, and how soon are you until you decide to make the decision where you want to play at the next level?
I've liked South Alabama, like these smaller schools. I'm not really looking to go SEC because don't want to sit out 4 years. You know what I mean? Like, if we're just being honest. So I'm really looking for things to open up. Commitments go away. And then they reach out to me because their school's talking to me. So I'm really just opening up for the next opportunity and, taking that. And it don't matter where I go. It matters, where you finish and the good you can get out of that. And I think all college football is great. You can see the transfer portal, how it's changed everything. Bowling Green's competing with Texas A&M now. So, everything's changed. It don't matter where you go. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. And I know you're going to enjoy my last question, Emile. I know you're going to enjoy your senior season. I mean, there's only one of those you can have. So I know you're enjoying every minute of it because it lasts, in the blink of an eye, right? But moving forward, this was obviously a huge win and I guess a huge confidence booster for this program too.
Oh, yeah.
Win against Catholic. Now, looking ahead, what's just been really the message from really Coach Martin, Coach Weiss, that whole coaching staff moving forward? And I know y'all got collegiate this week, but the week after that, y'all have a good St. Paul's team coming in, and we have a good relationship with their quarterback and Brendan Kime. He's a really talented quarterback as well, and you go into district play as well after that. So what's just the message from really this coaching staff in order for y'all to keep focus and continue that momentum that y'all build yourself with the Catholic win?
Yeah, so obviously don't be satisfied. We got a lot of games left, and that's Coach Weiss texted me that after the game. We got a lot of games left and a lot of weeks, a lot of preparation to go. So always consistently get better, and don't be satisfied with this. Beating Catholic's not the championship, right? We want to get to the Dome. That's the goal, and we all know that, and that's what our goal is, and that's what we're going to try our hardest to do, and we're going to put a lot of sweat into it. So.
Absolutely, Emile.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, Emile. Thanks for hopping on.
Yes, sir.
Good luck on the rest of your season, and go Cubs.
Thank you. Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Sorry, Jace. Yeah. Sorry. Your team didn't win last week, bro. Your team didn't win.
I gotta get credit with credit too. The Cubs beat my Bears. Nothing wrong with that. So they deserve it. There's always next year, but they deserve it. They deserve to win.
Well, I'm not there next year, so y'all are lucky.
That's awesome. All right, thanks, Emile. Thanks, Emile. We may have you on the show later on, but we don't know. It just depends on what happens. But thanks again, Emile, for hopping on.
Absolutely, thank y'all.
No problem. All right, guys, that's Emile Picarella, the quarterback of U High, 2-0 on his career against your Catholic High Bears, Chase. Chase, what's good, man? You can't beat this kid, man. You just can't beat him.
Yeah, he's the bear killer, like you said. So you can't go. Yeah. Oh, good thing he doesn't have another year. As a bear alum, glad I'm not playing Emile next year. I think I'm tired of seeing him as a bear alum.
Yeah, I got you. All right, so I want to move on to the next topic I want to talk about is the next big game. We got John Curtis at Archbishop Rummel. That's a game, similar vibes to the West Monroe-Catholic game in terms of brands. These are the two of the biggest brands in New Orleans football. I would say the last 10 to 15 years. Rummel's won 3 state championships since 2012. They've also been to 6 state championships since 2009. This is Rummel's had a hell of a run this last 10, 15 years, and under 2 head coaches too. with Jay Roth, who's now the AD. And then, of course, Nick Monica, the son of Frank Monica, and also Wayne Stein's cousin.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a coaching family.
Yeah. When you talk about that, right, that's some pretty good coaches on the football field. And you look on the other side, you have the GOAT on the other side too. So if you're an up and coming high school coach that wants to get like some good tutoring about what it takes to be a good high school coach, just go see John Curtis and Rummel, because that's some fine coaching on display. But Grant, we saw both teams. Early on. We just talked to Emile. We were both there for Rummel's win over U High. I was really impressed with Rummel, which just based on their ability to run the football. They got two really good running backs. Buggage is a really good quarterback, General Buggage as well. And then they can throw it when they need to. Big O-line. Defense was just really good in tackling. I don't think I've seen them miss really much tackles of anything in that game against U High. Fred Branks that was a really good U High offensive line they went against, and Fred was just a man amongst boys in that game. He really dominated the line of scrimmage. So, and they've shown they can win a shootout. When you can beat LCA in a shootout, that's something. John Curtis, we saw them too. I know they're young, especially on the offensive side of the football too. Replacing Dagan Bruno, who was a great quarterback for the Patriots the last couple of years, and they lost Michael Turner and a lot of other studs for the Patriots. So the defense is solid. Like, this Patriots defense is going to keep them in football games all year long, and this offense is going to grow and develop. Now that's going to be the question, right? Can this young offense, this young quarterback, can he grow up in a big way, because he's facing against a veteran quarterback from Rummel, and that's going to be really the difference. And it's going to be, this game's going to come down to is how successful the Veer offense can be for John Curtis. That vaunted Veer offense that JT has made famous. How can they continue to keep Rummel's offense off the field? Can they move the ball against their defense? That is going to be the key in this game. Right now, Rummel is as hot as anybody in the Catholic League. When we had Ken Trahan on the show, Grant, we were having a question about, okay, Edna Carr is the favorite in the Catholic League, but who is that second team? That was kind of the question. And right now, it looks like it's the Rummel Raiders right now.
No doubt. Of course, I've had high expectations for this Rummel team. This team has been talented the last couple of years, but it's just a matter of, can they stay consistent, and can they stay almost injury free? Of course, it's hard to not have a player that's injured, or have a couple players injured on your team, but how injury free can they possibly be, right? Because last year they were just marred with injury after injury after injury. This is the first time where this Rummel team not only is playing consistent, but also just know how to deal with all the injuries they've had, including especially last year. Also, and this is also a rematch of last year's game where Rummel beat Curtis. They upset Curtis in overtime.
Yeah,
actually, the big game actually was because the game I actually covered was Riverside and St. Martin's. Of course, that was two undefeated teams. St. Martin's, of course, has Harlan Berry, who we all know. Harlan Berry, number one running back in the country, committed to LSU. And then Riverside has a bunch of good players as well, including Kenrick Johnson and Deidre Glassy. But that game ended up being a 55-20 blowout. Then you go across, and then like 5 minutes down the road, Rummel and Curtis are having an overtime Teurling. So, and everyone's like, I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Sometimes.
And this is a fact that I need to bring up too, and kind of give you perspective about this Rummel Curtis game, is that since Nick Monica took over at Rummel, which was back in 2019, he is 3-2 against the Patriots.
Yeah, that's.
I don't think people realize that I don't think a lot of people realize he's 3-2 against John Curtis, and really, the 2 years he lost, that was a team. They were like I talked about. They were really young, even though they were talented. They were young, and they had to deal with injuries, right? So like 2021, 2022, last year, what they were able to upset Curtis, but that was still a team that was young and injured, right? And this year they're all experienced now. Most of them are experienced now. Even the younger guys who were playing as freshmen and sophomores last year, they've got the year of experience in them. And Jace, I told you this earlier today. I think I maybe told you that. Oh, I told you this yesterday on Balling on the Boot. I'm really confident Rummel's going to win this game. I'm really confident that they will. I think they might be in about 2+ touchdowns. I really do. Like Curtis has started off the season really slow. Because Curtis, their defense is great, right? I think their defense is great. They returned a lot of guys on that defense going hitting a lot. And Jeffrey Curtis, and a lot of different players like that. But their offense, I mean, they had to replace nearly everybody. They had to replace most of their offensive line, all their skill positions. Dagan Bruno, quarterback. I mean, that's a lot of key players from the 2022 state championship team that returned last year as well that you have to replace, and that's a hard thing to do. I mean, I remember when Curtis back in 2019 where they had to replace. 2020 they had to replace Colin Guggenheimer.
Yeah.
At one point, he was a quarterback. He was a quarterback for John Curtis.
He was.
You had Corey Span. You had Corey Span, and you had there's a lot of different dudes in that backfield, right? But they had to replace them all. And then the next 2 years, they went. I think the next 2 years they went like 6-4 and 5. It was a weird time for Curtis. I think really they lost back-to-back games for the first time in who knows how long. Let me actually pull up their previous seasons on Max Preps, and they're usually pretty right about this. So in 2020, they finished the season 6, even though it's COVID year. They finished 6-4, and they went to the semifinals, but they finished the season 6-4. Then the next year, they lost in the second round, where they finished 5-4 in another shortened season, and that was because of Hurricane Ida. So that's what happened when they had to replace a lot of the guys. And luckily in 2022, they're able to figure it out. They had a lot of talented players. All the talented players that were young on those 2020 and 2021 teams were older. Even though they started the season kind of slow, they're able to finish off the season with the state championship. And then last year, of course, they went 8-3. Really, they got robbed in their quarterfinal matchup against Catholic. I mean, we all know about the out of bounds play. But this season they started the season slow. I mean, they lost against a team from Georgia who's really good, by the way. I mean, they're one of the top teams in the state, Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia committed a running back.
Yeah, but then the following week they struggled against North Shore. I mean, I think it was 7-7 going into the fourth quarter. Then Curtis pulled away from them.
Yeah, 27-7, I believe.
It was like 27-7. But like North Shore had them for a long, long time. And then last week they had a bye week. Because remember the whole Zachary scheduling thing. So last week they had a bye week. So now they've had extra time to prepare for Rummel, but you haven't played football in a week, and this is a team, this is an offense that has a lot of youth in it, and you're going against a very experienced team in Rummel. That's why I like Rummel in this game. The last time I was this confident in Curtis losing, they ended up winning. That was against Carr, the very last game of the year. Me and Jason, remember that?
Because JT, they got me too because I picked Carr too. So it's hard, really hard to go against the winningest high school coach of all time.
And that was the game. Yeah, and that was the game he broke their record too. So they're just motivated all week, So.
Yeah, exactly. So it's hard. It's hard to go against them. And I mean, Nick Monica. I mean, how many coaches can say they have a winning record against JT Curtis?
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I want to know. Not many. You probably can count maybe on one hand how many coaches have had winning records against them head to head.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, and the only coach I know in the Catholic League currently that has more than that has 3 wins against JT Curtis is Mark Bonise at Brother Barn, but he has a losing record. Right. And then I think Bryce Brown may have 3 wins against JT, but I don't know that for a fact. But I do know he's had some success against JT in the past. But so Jace, I had made my prediction. What's your prediction for this game?
I agree with you. I mean, at this point in the season, even though it's hard going against JT and John Curtis, I gotta go with Rummel. I mean, just seeing what I've seen so far, seen both teams play. And Rummel, I just like how balanced they are. I don't think they're as dominant as the 19 Rummel team was that won the state championship, but I think this is the best team since then. They're just really, really balanced. They can win in multiple ways. That shows you what kind of team they are. They can win a defensive slugfest. They can win a high-scoring shootout. They can run the football. Janelle Buggage can be the hero if they need him to be the hero. Defensively, they're great up front, but I was really impressed with their DBs and tackling in open space and supporting and run support. So I really like this Rummel football team. I really do. And at this point, per se, at this point, when we're looking at what, September 23rd, from what I've seen, I have to go with Rummel.
Yeah, no doubt. So I'm glad we have some agreement there, Jace.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, so I'm glad because lots of agreement. We got burned by you high, so.
Yep. So hey, I mean, like if JT can send this and be bulletin board material and help the Patriots out a little bit.
Yeah, no question. But we have to go to another Catholic League matchup, and that's St. Aug and Warren Easton. Of course, St. Aug, they've had a good start this season, 2-1. They've had two really good wins. I mean, of course, the first one's against McDonald 35, very first week of the season. And then the second week of the season, they went to Cecilia and got a huge 58-34 victory over a very talented Cecilia team that a lot of people have them going back to the Dome this year for their classification. And then last week, of course, they lost against a team, Cardinal Ritter, which is the number one team in the state of Missouri. So, I mean, you really can't look at that game and just and as a knock on St. Aug, as that team is, like I said, the number one state in the number one team in the state of Missouri, and they got D1 dudes all over the place. But St. Aug will be going up against a Warren Easton team. That this will be the first ever Catholic League game since the mid '60s, which they're actually in. That's the last time Warren Easton was in the quote unquote Catholic League, or as the more formal name of the district is District 95A. Because now we got public schools, Warren Easton and Carr, and then also John Curtis is a non-denominational Christian school. So, Jace, I mean, who do you like in this match? Or do you see St. Aug getting the big win over a pretty talented Warren Easton team? Or do you see a Warren Easton team that is trying to bounce back, even though they won against Slidell the week beforehand, but they're still trying to bounce back from that tough loss to JFK?
Grant, this is really a toss-up in my opinion. I think I can go really either way with this one. Coach Valdez is I think he's doing an outstanding job in the first couple of games as the Purple Knights head coach, and that's what's going to make that dangerous. I mean, I know Jess Curtis was a big hire for Southside, but probably I think still the most dangerous hire was getting Robert Valdez to St. Aug. So that was such a big hire for this program. They've always been dangerous. They can beat you on any given Friday. And then when you look on the other side, Warren Easton, this is like a revenge tour for them. After all the stuff that's been going on with last year, with having their season canceled and the LHSA and all that. We can go into all that, but I mean, they're motivated, to come back and play. So either way, I think both teams should try and make a statement here. I mean, I think Robert Valdez and St. Aug, they won't say, hey, we're going to be in the picture. We're going to be here this year. Warren Easton say, hey, like, we're going to make sure we're going to play angry. And kind of like, there's us versus the world type of mentality is what they're really coming up with. So, Grant, this could really go either way. But I'm going to go with St. Aug. I think I've liked so far from what I've seen for the Purple Knights. I mean, they beat a really good Cecilia team that's going to be in it for a state championship, and they beat them by like 30. So that was a huge win for them. And they passed the eye test. Their offense is clicking right now. And they're doing all this with all the Jakeem Stewart stuff and him transferring down the car. And, that could be a big distraction, right?
Oh, it can.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
Paul hasn't really let that be a distraction, which shows me a lot already about the culture and the program
Yes.
that Valdez is installing in these kids. So with that being said, I still think Warren Easton's a good football team. I mean, their one loss came against a Kennedy football team that both of us are really high on. So it's going to be a really good football game. A lot of athletes on both sides of the football on both teams. But I'm going to go with the slight edge to the Purple Knights here.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you, Jace. One thing that was shown in that game against JFK is that, for one, JFK really got after, Warren Easton's quarterback Carl Reed. So I think one key in this game would be how, because even without Jakeem, this defensive line is one of the better defensive lines in the state. Warren Roberts, legit dude on the defensive line. Ty Dominique is another great player for this St. Aug defensive line. I mean, they just got dudes on that defensive line, and of course, it's not a shocker given that when Coach Valdez was at St. James, they had some stud defensive linemen as well, including Savion Jones. So. Who is now killing it at LSU. He's having a breakout year this year after having a disappointing year last year. But Warren Roberts, Ty Dominique, Calvin Guidry, and their defensive backfield is really good as well. But then also for Warren Easton, they had trouble trying to stop the passing attack from JFK. And what St. Aug's doing the best right now, what's their biggest strength is their passing offense. I mean, Ted Coulon has been awesome throwing the ball. All the games he's played, whether it was the Celia game, whether it was the which was his breakout game, but then also he had a great game throwing the ball against McDonald 35, and then that jamboree against Shaw. I mean, he was awesome as well. So this is a very talented St. Aug team. St. Aug can also run the ball effectively as well. I mean, they're one of the more balanced, offenses in this, not only in the city of New Orleans, but we're just talking about the state in general. I mean, this is a very tough matchup for this Warren Easton Eagles team. Yeah. And, and this is just how and that's how all the Catholic League games are going to be. It's going to be a lot of great games between two really good teams. So Warren Easton's going to have an uphill battle on their hands because St. Aug's just the first one. They're going to have a lot of big time games, and they're going to have to overcome some adversity because it's JFK was a tough loss. And I think that's been the key factors. How can they recover from such a tough loss to from another New Orleans, like across? I could just say across line rival because the last time those two teams have played each other, it was a 48-0 victory for Warren Easton. So the tides have changed in the city.
Yeah, it has, and the match is not a great matchup for Warren Easton when you talked about it, right? With St. Aug, not only St. Aug's ability to throw the ball, but with a young quarterback with Warren Easton, Thomas Vaughn at running back, they want to run the football. And like you said, they're playing against a really good defensive line. They can handle their own, and they have to force Carl Reed to make plays through the air. Now he's a athletic quarterback, make plays, but still a young quarterback for him. So the matchup here also favors St. Aug when you look at it like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, no doubt. I mean, and I also want to mention this too about the St. Aug team is that they have two really good receivers, and they have three really good receivers in Miguel Whitley, Rashawn Sims, and Raekwon Williams. And of course, Miguel Whitley and Raekwon Williams picked up 2 Power 5 offers from both Florida State and Ole Miss. So, and these guys are only sophomores, so the sky's the limit for this Warren Easton passing type. But you also got to think about this too. They have a freshman quarterback by the name of Jael Noble, and I think we may have talked about this on one of the podcasts. Maybe we have, but I think I did talk to you about this. But he's almost like they're running. He's like a running. He's only a freshman, but he is fast. I mean, he was giving Shaw all kinds of problems. Yeah. And he had 3 carries for 69 yards, including a 49-yard touchdown run when Tikulon was out. He got injured, I think, a couple plays before that. So that's another player that you probably need to watch out for because he's kind of like the change of pace type of quarterback. Now, Tikulon's athletic as well. but he's not like Jalo Noble fast or athletic. Like
Right.
that kid's a different animal. But I just want to mention that as well. But yeah, like I said, I got St. Aug winning this game too, and a big win for the Purple Knights. Because right now there's a lot of high expectations with a guy like Robert Valdez being your head coach. I mean, look at all the success he's had at every stop he's been at, and so I think having a big win like this is going to put it's setting what's the word the words I'm looking for? It's going to be a setting stone for what's to come for the St. Aug team because I don't think they're going to win a state championship or anything like that. But my expectations for them is to at least be 7-3, and that's how you get on the right track. Because this team, they have a mixture of both experience, but also a lot of talent behind them that are like underclassmen, right? You mentioned they have two sophomore receivers are both going to be D1 prospects. I mean, they got dudes all over, so it'd be really fun to see how this team progresses throughout year one in the Valdez era.
Yeah, consistency. That's what they want, Grant. And like they've shown flashes. St. Aug has shown flashes over the last couple of years, but it's nothing been consistent, right? So being able you might not have to win. You're not going to win every game, but show consistently that you can compete week in, week out, and that is what Purple Knights fans want to see. Is this program consistently compete week in, week out? They got the talent to do that, but that's what they're trying to find, and they found the right guy for that. So,
yeah, and we're gonna move on to our next matchup, and that's a Teurlings Catholic and Westgate. Both teams are, I believe, they're both 3-0. Teurlings Catholics had some impressive victories, including not only against Notre Dame this previous weekend, but also had a huge weekend against Opelousas to open up the season. Westgate's had some really impressive wins as well, including winning against a very talented Lafayette Christian team last week. Jace, I mean, what do you expect out of this matchup between two talented and high-powered teams?
Yeah, I mean, these are two teams that are familiar with each other. I mean, they played in the same district, and this was a district game, a rivalry between the two, and we've seen a lot of great matchups when it comes to Westgate, when it comes to Teurlings Catholic. Westgate picked up a big win last week against LCA. This is a game we both picked LCA, and Westgate was able to get that win, and they have a dangerous backfield. I mean, we talk about Jabari Antoine, Tobias Gordon, quarterback at running back. Like, who do you defend? Because you got to pick your poison with them both from the backfield. But they're athletic. Teurlings Catholics having one of the most impressive starts of the season based on the teams that they're able to beat. We talked about Notre Dame earlier in the show. They were able to beat them 21-10. They defeated the defending state champions in Opelousas. That was a big win, an eye-opening win early in the season. Beat Sam Houston team that's looked pretty good this year as well, and defeated Leesville with Xavier Ford. So yeah, this Teurlings Catholic team has had a lot of good wins. Coach Aponche, I think he's done one of his better coaching jobs, early this season with this group. And with this Westgate team, though, I think they're on a mission this year too. Like you said, last year it was the talent was there. I mean, they competed with Ruston in the playoffs. Not many teams can really do that on the road, right? But Jabari was hurt last year, and it was struggling to get him on the field. But when he's on the field, they are as dangerous as anybody out there in the state. And I really Westgate proved the point. I mean, by being a really talented LCA football team, that was one of the more impressive wins I've seen so far in this early part of the season. I like what Coach Antoine's doing. They always got a lot of really good athletes. Even though Teurlings Catholic has had some pretty impressive wins to start the season, I like the Tigers football team. I really do. They're as dangerous as anybody. They've proven a couple of years ago when they were able to beat in the car in the semis, and nobody was really expecting that. Then they beat Warren Easton in the state championship game too. So they're not afraid of anybody, and this is always going to be a really classic game between the two. So I like Westgate in this one, and hopefully, I guess I went against them last week, so I'm gonna pick them this week. So I like the Tigers, like their football team this year and how dangerous they can be. I think they really are a sleeper when it comes to talking about state championship, deep playoff contenders this year. So I like the Tigers.
You know, Jace, I'm gonna have to disagree with you there.
Okay.
Not so fast, big guy.
Lee Corso.
Yeah, I'm turning to Lee Corso. But I'm gonna say this: I think Teurlings Catholic's gonna win this game.
Okay.
I really do. I think Teurlings Catholic. They lost a few of their key players from last year, including Preston Welch, who's been the starter the last 3 years. But they pulled together 3 really impressive wins. I mean, they beat Opelousas on the road. They beat Sam Houston 48-21. And Sam Houston has a lot of really good players coming back. It's from that team that was really good last year for them. And then they come back last week and beat a very good Notre Dame team. And that's their fourth. This is actually the 4th straight year they beat Notre Dame, which it's pretty surprising that, like, when Coach Chachere told us that last year, that was the 3rd time they beat Notre Dame in the rivalry's history, and that's never happened before for Teurlings Catholic. So to kind of put that in perspective, the run that the Rebels have been having the last 3-4 years. And this team, I just think that this is a tough matchup for this Westgate team. Teurlings is, and Westgate's physical too, but Teurlings Catholic is also extremely physical as well. And I think just the way that Teurlings Catholic's been playing, and also just, they've already seen Opelousas, right? And I think Opelousas and Westgate are very similar teams. I mean, they played 3 outstanding programs and beat them all. So I really like the Rebels in this one. It's a toss-up game this is a toss-up game for sure. I mean, I don't think there's a wrong answer I don't think there's a right or wrong answer for this one, but I really like the Rebels given how they played the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's a toss-up. This can go either way. Would not be shocked Teurlings Catholic wins this game based on the start to the season. The teams that they played, that shows you that they can beat pretty much anybody on any given Friday night. They've shown that. Coach Aponche has done an excellent job with this team. And they're surprising a lot of people. New quarterback, we mentioned Preston Welch was a great quarterback for the Rebels the last couple of years. So really good start to the season. When I was calling the J.S. Clark game, they had a guy from the Advocate that was covering the game as well. That's in the area, and he told me he was shocked about how they started the season because they Teurlings Catholic, just because they struggled a little bit in their scrimmages and in games like that. Their jamboree as well, they struggled. So they really turn on when it's need the most, when the win-loss record does matter, and they've definitely shown that when they were able to beat Opelousas. And I mean, as far as 3 really good wins, that's as good of a start you can't have for Teurlings Catholic. But this should be a really good football game because Westgate they're coming off. They started off pretty sluggish too. I mean, they barely beat. I think it was like Lake Charles Prep. That was kind of a battle, even though Lake Charles Prep's always got talent too. But yeah, that was a big win for them too against LCA. So let's see if they can continue that momentum against Teurlings. Should be a great football game.
Oh yeah, no doubt, Jace. I mean, there's a lot of great games this weekend, and that's going to be that's one of many. But moving on to the next game. Speaking of Opelousas, Alexandria is coming off a huge win over Destrehan, 45-27. They will, so they're 3-0 entering this game. They'll be traveling up to Opelousas, and Opelousas, of course, is 2-1 on the year. They're returning a lot of players from their team the year before. And I believe, and then looking at their schedule, pull this up real quick. I mean, I know they lost that very tough game against Teurlings Catholic, as we mentioned. Week 2, they didn't play. They didn't play a game they were supposed to be scheduled to play at Notre. Like, of course, that game got canceled due to Hurricane Francine approaching. But they were able to pick up a win against Lake Charles College Prep. So I think this team is, ready to play against a very big time opponent in Alexandria. And, could Alexandria be facing some Hano coming off of their huge win over Destrehan, going into this game against a very talented Opelousas team?
Maybe a little bit of a hangover, but I'm sure Coach Botman's going to tell them, guys, y'all do realize they won a state championship last year. So I don't think they're going to have too much of a hangover against Opelousas. Opelousas, they had that game canceled. They were supposed to play in the car because of the hurricane. They didn't get a chance to play that game. They lost to Teurlings. Was able to beat Lake Charles Prep, like you mentioned, 27-12. But this Alexandria team, man, I really like this team. I really do. If you want to see some really good running backs play, make sure to check that game out because you got JT Lindsay on one side, Deshaun Ford on the other side. So you're going to have two teams that with big old lines, they're going to run the football, but they got playmakers too. Carson Sellers is a talented quarterback. He's got some weapons on the outside. Zacchaeus Malvo, he's the state championship quarterback last year. He's a really good athlete. He can score on you at any time, any given play with the speed. So that's a 1-2 deadly punch in the backfield with him and Ford. But I like this Alexandria football team. They showed it against Desherhan. And they know they got a tough – they're playing one of the toughest districts you can possibly play in. So they definitely can play against some of the best in the entire state, and they're used to playing against some of the best in the entire state. We're talking about this team being a sleeper for a state championship. I really do think so. This is a team you have to continue to keep your eye on. JT Lindsay's good, but this is an overall really good football team from top to bottom. They don't really have a major weakness, major flaw. Coach Bob does a great job with coaching this program. Opelousas, what a season they had last year, and I'm really glad that they're able to get keep the state championship trophy and keep that this year. So this it's going to be a big year for Opelousas, right? How do you handle that? You were the hunters last year. Now you're the hunted. So how can you continue that track and be a state championship program? So yeah, it's going to be a really good football game. I really like this game, but I'm sure you're reacting to. Are you watching the?
Yes. What a tarp by G. Damn, they got distracted for a second.
I'm watching it right now. But this is gonna be a really good football game. But you like running backs, definitely keep an eye on this one because they're gonna be running the football. Might be a quick game, but give me Ash because I just like this football team and the way that they're hot right now. So give me the Trojans, Grant.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think the Trojans. I know I have to ask you the question for the storyline because they could be experiencing pain over now. I wouldn't be surprised if Alexandria struggled early on, but give me Ash to win by a couple of touchdowns over a very pesky Opelousas team that's very well coached as well. But moving on to the next game. We got two teams that are off that started the season off with the wrong foot. Archbishop Shaw and Lafayette Christian. Of course, the Shaw Eagles would be traveling from the West Bank of New Orleans all the way to Lafayette to go play the Knights. Archbishop Shaw starting off the season 1-2. They had the blowout loss at Notre at the beginning of the season. Then they were able to beat West Jeff 49-0. However, last week they lost to Rummel 35-21. And they had to give back the megaphone to their cross-town rivals in the Rummel Raiders. And then Lafayette Christian, of course. Lafayette Christian started off 1-2 as well. New regime with Zach Lockhart taking over, who's a pretty good coach. He's overachieved at his last two stops in Parish and Bro Bridge. They had a really close game with Archbishop Rummel where they lost 35-42, and that game could have gone either way. They picked up a huge win over Karen Grove 38-21 in week 2, but then last week against Westgate they lost 21-39. And that's a veteran Westgate team with a veteran coaching staff. Brian Antoine's been doing this a long time, so even though Zach Lockhart is even though he has a lot of head coaching experience, it's not nearly as long as a coach like Brian Antoine. And also Westgate's been playing high level football for a good little while now. But a big game for both teams. Either team wants to start 1-3. I mean, Jace, who you got? This is a really intriguing matchup going on in Southwest Louisiana.
This is a big game. It really is, just because, like you said, you don't want to start the season 1-3. This is gonna be tough. Especially these are two teams that have a lot of aspirations of making deep runs for the playoffs, for state championships. We know Coach Tierney definitely has a lot of history with Shaw and leading them to state championships in his previous stop. over there at Shaw. And in terms of LCA, yeah, I mean, they've been state championships every year. I mean, the biggest storyline was them trying to replace Juwan Johnson, right? A guy that's been so prolific throughout his high school career as a quarterback and all the numbers that he was able to pull up. This is going to be a toss-up too. I think the difference in this one is because it's going to be the drive, right? I mean, the road game. To be honest with you, I think that's what's probably going to be the difference in this one. Since the game is played at LCA, I'm actually going to go with the Knights here, and I've been a little bit more encouraged to be honest with how they played. I mean, comparing them to Shaw. I mean, because Shaw was able to they played in the car. Now it's tough to go against them, right? I mean, we weren't really shocked by that result to lose by car. They got impressive shutout win over West Jefferson, and also too like the Shaw Rummel game rivalry too. Like that's a big deal between both these two teams, and maybe it's a little bit of a hangover too. I mean, when you're up for that game, and for that megaphone trophy, you lose that game, it might be a little bit of a letdown if you think about it too. So LCA now they play Westgate. They got away a little bit away from them as Westgate was able to pull it away. But hey, I mean they have one of the more impressive losses this year of playing Rummel and losing by a touchdown to Rummel, and that was as impressive a loss as it gets right there. They were able to pull away from Karen Crow too, which was a good win for them. With the game being at home, I think the game was being at Shaw. I think I'll go with Shaw here, but since it's being played at LCA and they got weapons on the offensive side of the football, now I know Shaw does. I think this is going to be a game that will be really high scoring. There's going to be a lot of points on the board, but I think with it being at home and with Shaw just playing a tough game, a rivalry game, you could say a little bit of an upset here, but I'm going to go with the Knights.
I'm gonna have to go with Shaw at this one. I think after you start off the season 1 and 2, I don't think anybody at Shaw wanted that to happen. I think they're gonna be more motivated now after a tough loss against Rummel. And Hank Tarrant is gonna get these boys right. I think it's gonna be tough because you're gonna have to travel 2 hours away to go play against a very talented LCA team. But I just think that Shaw is going to be motivated. Because they don't want to start the season. Not only do they want to start the season 1 and 2, but they also have some big goals ahead for them, and they want to accomplish them. And so the best way to do that is to get a huge win over LCA. And I think if you get this huge win over LCA, I think it'll get the train rolling again. But I have to go with Shaw. I mean, I do think it's a toss-up game. I won't be shocked if LCA wins this game. However, I'm just going to pick Shaw. Just because I think that, if there's one coach who knows how to get out of a rut like this, it's Hank Tarrant.
Yeah.
He's done this for a very long time. This isn't his first rodeo with high expectations. You start off the season 1 and 2. So I'm just going to have to pick Shaw for this game, just based off the coaching experience. I also think that Shaw is also a little bit more of a veteran team than LCA, even though LCA has a lot of players coming back. I just think Shaw's older, right? And I think they're more physical than LCA.
Last thing I want to say is this for Shaw could almost kind of feel like the Rummel game for them, because that was kind of like a springboard for them last year. If they can get this win, that'll be kind of like the exact same, be a springboard win for them if they're able to do that.
Oh, and I got this last one, and this is gonna be a toss-up game too.
Yeah.
You got the John F. Kennedy Cougars going to the North Shore to play the St. Paul's Wolves. You got two teams with two really good coaches, two really good quarterbacks, weapons all around, skill weapons galore. I mean, just this game. I'm kind of going back and forth this game. I'm not sure if I want to go JFK. Not sure if I want to go to St. Paul's. Jace, as I've said all of this, I mean, have you made a decision yet? Do you want to just stay neutral on this? Because it's hard to pick. I mean, it really is.
It is. In win or lose for JFK, they've accomplished what they wanted to do. Right, go and beat Warren Easton. That's a marquee win, and then you build on that. You go on the road when really the odds were stacked against you. You're down late, and you had a 3rd and 13. Things weren't going great late in the game. You're at a pretty much a loud, tough environment at Sam Mall, the pit, a tough place to win, and you were able to convert that and set up a game-winning field goal. So those are really good qualities for a championship team. St. Paul's, on the other hand, I know they struggled a little bit in their win. I talked to Brennan's dad, Chad, and they struggled against De La Salle, and they come off a very last second disappointing loss against Brother Martin when that game could have gone either way too. So yeah, I mean both these two teams. I mean St. Paul's. This could really be a type of win that could really catapult them too if they're able to get this win over JFK. For JFK, I think they're the better team. I really do, Grant, here. I think they are the better team than St. Paul's, but I think St. Paul's needs this more right now.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, I'm going to go with the Wolves to win this football game, knowing that they probably need this win a little bit more than JFK. And JFK, you just played a tough stretch. I mean, you played Warren Easton, then you went on the road on a short week, and then you played and won a game at Sam Mall. Then you got to go and play St. Paul's. So that's a whole lot, even for the more veteran teams out there. But it's going to be a really good football game. Both quarterbacks are two of the better quarterbacks in the New Orleans area as well. So it should be a really good football game. But I'm going to go with I still think JFK is a better team, but I think St. Paul's needs this win a little bit more right now. And I think it might be a little bit of a tired JFK team too. So I'm going to go with the Wolves here to get the win.
I think, I don't know who to pick. I might just stay neutral on this because obviously we know people on both sides, of course, especially me.
He got you high after that. So St. Paul's needs this win.
Right. And I think here's the thing. I think this is going to be the key to this game, really, is that can Brennan time keep the turnovers down? Can St. Paul's keep those turnovers down? I think that's going to be a huge difference. It'll be like I said, I always said this one knock that I'll have of Brennan is that he forces the ball too much, right? Can he limit those turnovers against a very athletic JFK team that can cause pressure? And we talked a lot about their offense, but their defense is really good as well.
Yeah, they are.
You got Ernest Lyons at cornerback, Calvin Sparrow at linebacker. I mean, they got players on the team, but I think
they're long and athletic. I mean, they're all long and athletic.
Right, but the one advantage St. Paul's has over JFK is that St. Paul's is a bigger team. They got more players on the team. Of course, JFK is a 3A team. I'm having a tough time. I'm probably leaning the St. Paul's, but JFK. I mean, JFK is so hot right now. I think the only reason why JFK loses this game is because they're just tired. Right? They just had a hell of a run. They beat 5A Scotlandville. They beat 5A Warren Easton, which is arguably the biggest win in the school's history. Last week, they went on a short week and managed to squeak out a win against a very good Saint Amand team on the road, an hour away. And then I have to come back and play. I have to travel again, this time to North Shore to play a really tough St. Paul's team. I mean, it's a toss-up. I don't think there's a wrong, like I said about last couple of matchups, all the matches really. There's not a wrong answer to any of these if you pick one way or another, because you're not gonna. It's not gonna be a crazy pick. I think there's a lot of factors that are gonna play into this game that it's gonna be hard for me to look at. This team's gonna win this game because JFK still has. I feel like can they keep the intensity up after having a tough 3 weeks stretch, and can St. Paul's one keep those turnovers down, but two, try not to think too far ahead. Because you have this big game. You only have this big game this week. You have U High next week, and then in week 9, you got the big game against Mandeville, which should determine the district title. But then you also have Covenant's playing some really good football as well.
Sneaky, under the radar.
So I mean, I think that's the thing about St. Paul's. But I mean, other than that, I think St. Paul's will barely win.
Yeah,
but it's also can they? How long is Cordy Corrales going to be out? Right.
Yeah.
Troy Willis had a great game, but they're going to be keen on Troy Willis the whole time. So you got to. So it's really this game's going to be on Brent, really, and on Brendan's shoulders for the most part.
Yeah. Brennan and some of the other receivers, Stone, Celestine, guys like that. They want to have to step up for this one. It can go either way. I mean, really, the only thing I'm gonna be shocked, not like whoever wins, or like these games you talked about, but if there's blowouts in these, like that's the only thing I'm gonna be surprised about if there's going to be a lot of blowouts with the games you talked about. But either way, I don't think you can go wrong with a lot of these games.
And to be honest with you, if JFK wins this game against St. Paul's, I mean, right now they're the number 2 team in 3A according to LSWA and Go Preps and all these schools. But if they beat St. Paul's this weekend, they have to be number 1. I mean, every single including this game against St. Paul's, the last 4 games have been all against 5A opponents.
Yeah.
And three really good ones at that too.
Yeah.
And 2 of them on the road. So if they win the St. Paul's game, they should be the number 1 team in 3A.
Oh, yeah.
Really, I mean, this team, if they pull out this win against St. Paul's, I mean, like I said, we're going to look at this. We already look at this JFK differently since they won against Warren Easton. But now we're starting to think, is this team the favorite to win the season? We talked about Shaw all year. We talked about U High, but we might have to throw JFK in this. And I said this since the beginning of the year. Before the year started. JFK is a legit stout state title contender, but nobody knows it yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are starting to finally realize it, but they beat St. Paul's. I mean, a lot of people are going to see them as the favorites to win the state.
And even if they lose by 3, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's going to really change it ain't going to change my opinion too much on them one way or another, because I know what type of streak they're on and playing 3 5A teams in a row. So, I mean, 3 out of 4. I mean, So, it's going to be a tough stretch.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jace, that's going to wrap it up. We've been on here for close to 2 hours now. This is probably the longest show we've had, but that's what happens when we move the recap show to Friday nights at 11 o'clock p.m. We're going to do that for the rest of the season. We're just kind of a live reaction show to all the games that happened Friday nights. It's just easier for our schedules, but it also allows us to do shows like these where we can bring on guests and we can break down the games. I know, it's a very long show, but but I'm going to leave timestamps so you don't have to watch the whole video. You can just watch the segment where we talked about your team and your area. So that way it's just an easier watch for everybody. And but thanks for everybody who watched the live show on Friday. I want to see more views on there as well. But I think now people have an idea of what we're doing now. I'm really excited to see this grow. Keep doing this for Jace every Friday night. If time allows, of course, for Jace. I mean, I know I'm going to be doing it. And so if Jace can't make it, because he might be, in Lafayette and he can't make it back in time, that's fine. I can go solo till he gets here. That's the beauty about live shows. I really just think, but anyway, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps us grow a lot. Also, make sure to follow Ruger Sports Media wherever you get your social media. Make sure to follow Crescent City Sports, which is the site I write for about all the high school games, not only in New Orleans, but also around the state, but especially in the New Orleans area. If you're a New Orleans high school sports fan, Jace LeJeune for Gridiron Football, for Gridiron, make sure to follow them and go on their website, check out their content, and follow them on social media. And I'll let Jace go ahead.
Yeah, one more thing to plug, Grant, before I let you wrap the show up. So we at Gridiron Football, we redesigned the website a little bit.
I think I saw that,
And talked to Andy, and we're actually adding a lot more college coverage too, more NFL coverage as well. So we redesigned the website too, so we can get some college and some NFL coverage. I did a top 25 takeaways from the top 25 teams. So we call it the top 25 roundup. So we did like a little 2 or 3 sentences about how all the top 25 teams fared this week. So go check it out. But we are redesigning the website a little bit, try and include more college, more NFL teams. So y'all guys make sure to check it out and tell us what y'all think about it with the new changes. So we would really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I'll actually leave a link to those the things that Jace just mentioned on the description below. Of course, I think Crescent City Sports and Gridiron Football. I mean, there's some other sites around the state, but I really think Gridiron Football's done a great job of covering high school football, not only just in the Baton Rouge area, but across the state and even nationwide. They do a lot of diamond in the roughs from across the area, which I've written a few when I was an intern over there. Yeah. And but then also just with now they're now they're trying to add more college stuff. So make sure to check out both sites. They both give really good insight for what's going on, not only in the city of New Orleans or Baton Rouge or across the state, but even with college sports as well, especially LSU and Tulane and you name it. But anyway, like I said, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, help us grow. Make sure to go find Crescent City Sports or Crescent City Sports and Gridiron Football on the website. Check our websites, like I just named it. Follow us on social media. We're everywhere. And then also, the show's over. Grant Satcher of Crescent City Sports and the owner of Ruger Sports Media. Jace LeJeune, my co-host of Gridiron Football. See you guys later. See you guys on Friday. Actually, not later, but Friday at 11 p.m. Central Time. Yes, sir.